Hey guys, welcome back to Armchair Quarterbacks Mile High Edition. My name is Michael Worth.
I am Nick Duran, and joining us today we have my wonderful father, Matt. Same thing from last week with Mike's dad, Jim. Both dads have been an instrumental, part of our life, getting us into sports, and definitely wanted to get them on the show early and often to pick their brain and really kind of pull their thoughts and experiences from a wide variety of topics. But Dad, excited to have you on this one, and we're gonna jump right into it. Colorado Rockies. You spent some time in Arizona.
Before we get going on this, though, let's
I forgot about that. Like and
subscribe right there. We'll get that one time. Just click that like
Eventually,
button.
We're gonna get it.
Click that like button. Click that subscribe button. Tell your friends about us. But yeah, let's jump on the Rockies. Matt was down in Scottsdale, Arizona this last week. He got firsthand look at all the new prospects, all the players coming back. So we just wanted to know your thoughts. What did you see while you were down there that was good?
Well, that was good. Well, I guess the starting pitching was pretty good. I got to watch 4 games.
Okay.
And the starting pitching was good. And everything. I personally am a believer that it's pitching, because without pitching, it doesn't matter who you have in the field, you're not going to win. And so, as I was watching Freeland and I got to see a little bit of Gray, Gomber, he looked really good.
Okay.
So
that's Nick's guy. Nick's been talking Austin Gomber since the first week. He likes him.
Well, he's good. He's got a good curveball. He seems to have good command of the strike zone, and he's got some good velocity. So it's actually, it'll be interesting to see what happens when he gets into Denver and to see how much that curveball really works.
That was my thing. It seems like our history of pitching, the breaking balls and off speeds, they don't work for these pitchers at this thin air. The guys who have had success are the Aaron Cooks with the sinkers and the balls that are moving but are thrown hard. So I'm interested in that too, to see if that curveball will have the same effect.
Yeah. Well, the interesting, I think, it's going to be how our bullpen comes together. Does Oberg come back from the blood clot situation? And, Almonte looked good. I think Bard is looking good, and it concerns me a little bit about Estevez, because even though he was throwing 98, 99 miles an hour, he was getting hit hard.
Yeah.
And so I think everybody and their brother in today's baseball world, they can hit 100-mile-an-hour fastball. It's just how's your movement? And he could have been working on some pitches for all I know. He could have been saying, hey, I got to work on my 2-seam or 4-seam fastball, and that's what I'm going to be working on today. And therefore, that's why, because the 2 times he went in, he got, it was 2 times that they hit home runs against him.
Okay.
So that was a little concerning. Some of these other pitchers that they were throwing, too many walks. And so that was a little concerning to me, that they just weren't throwing strikes. There were too many 3-2 counts, too many walks. And so, they were scoring a lot of runs. The teams were scoring a lot of runs, therefore, because of the walks that they were giving up. The fielders, as far as the team and the everyday position players, they all look solid. McMahon was given a tough time when he made an error, and the fans were riding him like no tomorrow. He was at third base, and they were yelling, Arenado would have made that play all day long.
Yeah, he's gonna have a rough year, because people are going to be upset about Arenado not being there, and he's not. He's not going to fill his shoes.
Well, with Brendan Rodgers going out for the first month and a half, do you think they're going to move, McMahon to second and move maybe Fuentes to third, just being the fact that first base is a little bit easier position to kind of makeshift?
No. I think that they'll keep McMahon at third. I think they want him to be the third baseman, the everyday third baseman, with Fuentes working in. Personally, I think Chris Owings is probably going to move into that second base position, or if not Hampton or Hampton. He may be the guy, but I think they're really wanting McMahon to succeed. I mean, and third base is actually his natural position. That's what he grew up as. And I just think, as long as he makes the everyday play, we'll be fine. It's not going to be. I don't think we're going to see any stellar highlights what we did with Arenado, but I think he'll be a solid ball player at third.
From a breakout player standpoint, I know Mike and I talked a little bit earlier, a couple episodes back, on who we think's going to have a true breakout year from a Rocky standpoint, because it's all a bunch of question marks outside of Trevor Story. In your opinion, who do you think's primed to take that next step and be, an all-star caliber type player, whether it be infield or outfield for the Rockies?
I got to tell you, I thought Hilliard looked really good. He was making good contact. He's got great speed. He plays a really good center field. I think he potentially could be very good. I don't know what the Rockies are thinking as far, because you've got Hilliard, you've got Hampson, you've got Tapia, and you've got Blackman along with Daza. I think if they start Hilliard at center and put Owings at second base, I think they'll have a pretty good solid defense with Rogers being out. But I think Hilliard, he would be my dark horse as far as having a breakout year.
Yeah, that's who I was going with too. I like him a lot.
Mike's guy.
I think he adds as much field as Hampson covers in center field. He's just got no pop in his bat, and I think Hilliard adds a little more damage in that lineup. So I'm hoping that he can take that step and be that guy too.
Well, his big thing right now is that he's got to cut down on his strikes or his strikeouts, and if he can do that, I think then he can be a really solid everyday player.
I mean, Trevor Story had the same strikeout issue his first couple of years.
Yeah, he was
leading the league in strikeouts. I think his second year, after breaking his wrist, but then he's definitely become a much more contact type hitter. So maybe as Trevor what he did.
Yeah, I think the thing that bugs me, and maybe it's me getting older, is the fact that they don't really look down on strikeouts the way they do. I mean, when you coached us, it was you get on 2 strikes, you choke up, you put the ball in play, and good things can happen. Now, they teach these guys that a home run is striking out is better than putting the ball in play if you're swinging hard. And I don't know the analytics behind it, but I just hate strikeouts, and it's not my thing.
Yeah, I think it's you guys are too young to know Earl Weaver, who used to be the manager for the Baltimore Orioles when they were when they were great. They had great teams, and his theory was a 3-run home run will be 5 singles every day of the week.
Mm-hmm.
So he was always he would always put players in the lineup to that they were home run hitters.
Yep.
Yeah, but you're right. A lot. Although I got to tell you, of the 4 games I saw, I was surprised to see that there were 5 bunt attempts.
Oh wow!
During the course of those 4 games, which personally I'm a small ball guy. I love the small ball to incorporate with hitting the long ball. But today's baseball, it's all about hitting the ball hard.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I still coach these young kids, and we still coach. Contact is everything, because I get it when you hit the ball hard, but at the same time, if you don't make the defense make the plays, it's hard. It's they're easy outs.
Yeah.
So I agree with you, Michael.
So with the expectation that the Rockies are slated to lose 100+ games this year, how much leash do you give Bud Black if you're the GM of the Rockies? Do you say, hey, expectations are super low, so if you lose 100, that was what we expected, so we're going to keep you around? Or do you make a change sometime in July or August to say, hey, you haven't done anything major for the Rockies since or ever, and make a change at the top?
Well, if you're Bitterich, I mean, how can you blame Black for your lack of being able to bring in players that make a difference. I
It's
mean,
easy.
I think both of you read, I think both of you probably read, earlier this week that out of the 100 top prospects in baseball, I don't think the Rockies have one.
Nope, we got zero, and we just traded the best third baseman in baseball and are paying his contract and still have zero.
Yeah,
and I think the Cardinals have three, right?
I didn't see what the Cardinals.
Okay.
The thing is, I mean, this is my opinion about Arenado. No question, he's the best third baseman in baseball. But with Arenado on the team and Trevor Story on the team, they've had winning seasons out of the last 8 seasons too.
Yeah.
So it goes to my point that if you don't have the pitching to carry you, it doesn't matter who's in the field, because they can't score enough runs because your pitching staff is giving up too many to carry you. I mean, it's like when we had the Blake Street Bombers, right? We were lights out, scoring runs like no tomorrow, but our pitching will allow the other team to score more runs.
Yep, losing games 13-12, 14-10. I mean, the thing is what's nice is I think our starting pitching, like you were talking about early, has the potential to be a top 15 rotation. I think there's 3 to 4 really, really solid guys. If Freeland can take his build off of his 2018 campaign and forget about 2019 and the COVID year, if we could get back to that or close to that, him and Marquez make one of the better 1-2s in baseball. It's our relievers, man. It didn't matter how many quality starts we got in the last few years, they would come in and blow whatever lead we had.
Right. Well, I think that the 5 that they're probably going to start out with, they are a good rotation. There's no question. I think Gray obviously is going to be the question mark as to whether or not mentally he's got it, because little pressure, he seems to not come through. And so hopefully Bard maybe will have some influence on how he approaches his pitching, since he was the psychological guru for, I think, the Diamondbacks before he came back into baseball. So, I mean, but overall, the starting pitching, I'm not worried about. You're right, Michael. To me, it's all about the relievers. But now that they've gotten rid of the 3 guys that sort of had those, the bad contracts, hopefully some of these kids will come through. And Estevez, I'm not sure he's going to make it, only because he just, he's had 3 years with us, and he just doesn't seem to get any better. And I think, but he's going to be on that rotation for coming in on the 7th or 8th inning.
So we've been talking about pitching in Denver and how.
I think we might have lost him. Do you hear him, Matt?
No.
All right, Nick, I think we can hear you now.
All right, perfect. No, I was talking about, we've been talking about pitching in, the question marks for 25 years for the Rockies. How many more years, are we going to keep talking about their pitching before someone makes a change? And, we've come to know that the Monforts are phenomenal businessmen. They bring fans into the stands. The experience and the atmosphere it's fun. It's fun to go to Rockies games regardless of who we're playing. But the product on the field is, from a pitching standpoint, has just been, subpar at best for literally almost 3 decades. Yep. So, what do you do to fix that? If they're not willing to spend any more money to go get, 4 or 5 middle relievers that can. All right. So 4 or 5 relievers, if you're not going to spend a ton of money to go get them, obviously your options are a little bit limited. So what do you do if you're the GM or you're the owners to put a better product on the field with what resources that you have? Because, it's painful to be a Rockies fan and keep talking about pitching every year.
I think we need to invest our money into a better scouting or better player development. It gets exciting to sign free agents. It gets exciting to see the major leaguers produce. But the fact of the matter is we're not going to pay big contracts in Colorado. We're not going to keep them on the books because we can't. So why not go and develop a great scouting team, be known for paying top dollar to the best scouts? be known for paying the best top dollar to the best developmental coaches. And then as they get to the big leagues, get them for 5 years on team friendly deals and then trade them away and be that team. I mean, it makes more sense to me.
Well, if you ask me, my opinion is that, you would just go out and draft pitcher after pitcher after pitcher. Because if you look at how we're set up, no high, if you look at the high free agents pitching wise, they don't want to come to Denver.
No,
absolutely not. They see it as a black hole. So it doesn't matter how much Monfrons want to spend or not spend. Mm-hmm. They're not coming here because they see too many pitchers that have tried and have failed because of the way that this market is with,
Yeah, we paid all-stars a lot of money, and they've all had great years the year before, and then before you know it, they're terrible and they'll never get another contract. So now that is ingrained in our history.
Yeah.
And why risk it? Why take $100 million contract to know that might be the last contract you'll ever see?
Right. So with that being said, you can't say, hey, well, Monfrons need to go spend this money on 4 or 5 relievers or on stars. They're not going to get them. So what you got to do is you got to grow them yourself. And so, look at our 4 starters now. We've got, we got Freeland, we got Marquez, we got Gray, and we have Sensatella, all homegrown. Mm-hmm. That's what they have to continue to do. And then continue to build up, with Almonte, Bard, Estevez, Oberg, they're all homegrown. So to me, you can go get the players in the field by, maybe free agency.
Yeah, hitters going to want to come here.
Yeah,
sure.
Homegrown pitchers, you've got to have that. To me, that has to be the priority. So if I was the GM, I'd be doing nothing but drafting pitching, and then and fill in the rest.
Yeah, and our best pitchers historically have all been homegrown. And you look all the way back, you got Cook, you got Jimenez, you have a handful of other pitchers who were good, and they started here and had their good seasons here. Whether they stayed good for a long time, that's a different story. But anybody who has had success in Colorado has started in Colorado.
Right. And I think it also helps them that we have our AAA clubs in Albuquerque, which is the same type of air in Denver. So they get used to pitching in this type of an atmosphere.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect. So some more lighthearted, fun questions. Favorite Rockies team of all time?
World Series team.
Mm-hmm.
Was it just because they were hot, or you think that they were truly the best team?
Well, I don't know if they were necessarily the best team, but when you win, I think 23 out of 25, and then went into the playoffs, and then I still say that if the Red Sox wouldn't have come back against the Indians, they would have won the World Series that year. But they had such a long layoff; it was hard to get back their mojo. But that was a fun team to watch.
I told Nick last week that I think if you took random fans of Colorado sports and asked them their most memorable time in all Colorado sports, because I was arguing that we're much more of a baseball town than people believe, that 2007 World Series run would rank 1 or 2. And the only reason it wouldn't rank 1 probably is because it didn't end in a championship. But the whole town was on fire. It was just the craziest that we've ever seen it get about baseball and sports almost in general.
Well, and the one thing about Colorado and Denver specifically is that if you're winning, they'll support you like no other, and you get a lot of enthusiasm going.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. So that's all we got for Rockies talk right now. So we appreciate you, Dad, coming on.
Thanks for coming on, Mr. Grant.
It was thoughts and opinions.
All right, guys. Take care of yourselves.
All righty. All right. So on top of just Rockies talk, we had a great week in Colorado sports. There was a lot of good things to talk about, a lot of big things going on, and teams are starting to play really, really good. So I want to maybe start off with the Buffaloes because we are in the top 32 now. We play tomorrow. We looked really good against Georgetown.
We looked incredible against Georgetown.
We shot lights out.
And here's the thing, though. That's not normal for the Buffs. That is not normal. They caught fire early and often and just didn't look back when they're up almost 25 at half. You know,
Yep.
you just know it's going to be a really good rest of the game. And I mean, they pulled their starters with like 6 minutes left in the game and still
Yeah.
put up 96 points.
Yeah, it was a good game, and I actually filled out my bracket. I don't know if you filled out your bracket, but it is not pretty.
No, mine's busted. Mine got busted today. With Illinois losing today, mine is over. It's done.
I think I got 12 or 16 of the 32. No, it was like 12 of the 32, but I did get Colorado right. I actually pushed them all the way to the Final Four because I felt like a homer.
Did you know that Colorado, like the Colorado Georgetown game, was the most picked upset game in the whole tournament?
It's because Patrick Ewing, man. Everybody wanted to write Patrick Ewing's love story. But they were lucky to get into the tournament. They were the probably the worst team in the tournament as far as season goes. They got hot in the tourney and got their auto bid, but they were a 500 team.
Yeah, they finished 13-13, and to honest, and that's just to the whole point of this podcast in general is just, you know, Colorado sports just they don't get the credit that they deserve, even when they have a team that's 25-7 like the Buffs, and a solid 5 seed, probably should have been a 4 seed if they would have won the Pac-12. And they look really good. They're gelling. They play great defense. They don't turn the ball over. The best free throw shooting team in the country. And they're just a lot of fun to watch. And I think, to be honest with you, I think Florida State is going to give them a run for their money. I'm not going to lie. I think Florida State matches up really, really well from an athletic standpoint against the Buffs. However, if the Buffs beat Florida State, I think the Buffs are going to beat the crap out of Michigan. I truly do. Yeah. The Buffs are a better team.
I agree. You know, in March in college basketball, the teams with a guard who carries the team and older guards, juniors and seniors, tend to shine. And McKinley Wright is a stud. He might not ever catch on in the NBA because he's a little undersized, but he runs that team really well. And as he goes, they go. And so this is his time to shine.
I think McKinley Wright, from a NBA standpoint, I think he's very similar to a Chris Paul. I think his basketball IQ is second to none on the college court. I mean, you know,
right. There's a lot more to the game as it evolves.
A lot more to the game when he goes to the NBA. But he makes the right decision 90% of the time. He does not put your team in a situation where it's questionable. His reads are always right. He hustles. He's a lightning quick on his first step. Can just get by a lot of people. And he's going to be a guy in the NBA. He's going to average 8 to 9 assists a game. He's going to put up 10 points maybe. But he's just going to help just carry that, drive that team.
I think he could find if he gets into the right situation. I think he can carve out a role very similar to Monty Morris.
Okay.
Somebody who's not going to be the starter, but could be one of the best backup point guards in the league. And there's nothing wrong with that. Morris just signed like a $30 million contract this year with the Nuggets or something. So, but I think he fits in that role of floor general. With starters come off, he can definitely keep that second unit together. So I'm looking forward to the tournament. I'm looking forward to his future and seeing how he progresses in the NBA.
Yeah, so I mean, moving from a NCAA, Colorado's looking pretty good. Who would have thought that the Nuggets and the Avalanche? I mean, we've been kind of questioning both teams.
I think you know what I think it is I think they've been listening to us. They're getting tired of us nagging on them. Yeah. Will Barton has been playing pretty well these last couple of weeks. The Nuggets are 8-2 in their last 10. The Avalanche are 8-1-1 in their last 10. And they scored like 18 goals this week. Something crazy. It was like
in the last 2 games it's 11 goals to 1.
Yeah. So we could definitely take credit for that.
I'm 99% sure
we've gotten under their skin, giving them a little bit of bulletin board material. So we did well there, Nick.
Yeah, no, the Nuggets they're good. I mean, they're closing some ground. I mean, with the LeBron James injury that happened yesterday.
Yep.
Just kind of helps the Nuggets from a standing standpoint. Who knows how long he's out? He's out indefinitely as of today. There's no time frame on that.
High ankle sprains are crazy to gauge because they could be anywhere from like 2 to 3 games to a month and a half.
I mean, look at AD. Look at AD with his high ankle sprain. He sat out the entire season.
I read an article today that really irritated me. Okay, so it was like about the MVP race now. And it was saying that there's no front runner in the MVP race with Embiid and LeBron James getting hurt. It's wide open now. It's like, are you kidding me? Right? Are you kidding me? Nikola Jokic is number one in so many advanced statistics. It's like,
yes,
he was the front runner before they got hurt. But
correct.
Whatever. It's just irritating. They're throwing like James Harden into the conversation with him now, and he plays on a team with three of the top 12 players in the NBA.
I don't understand, from the Rockies, we get it, right? So from a thin air, hitters don't get a lot of credit, but you can't use that same argument with the Nuggets and basketball. It's not the same thing. And so that's why it's so confusing to me, and to your point, extremely frustrating when we get no love when he's averaging a double-double a game, damn near a triple-double. He's missed a triple-double 20 times by one either rebound or assist.
Yeah.
And it's just unreal to me how he gets no love because they just, maybe because we're a flyover state. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't get it.
On the coast, it sucks.
If the season were to end right now, his player efficiency rating would be the 9th best season of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, but what are you going to do? The Avalanche are looking good. They made a trade for goalie like you recommended, so that's how I know they are watching us. But this goalie does not look good.
No,
I don't know anything about him, but he doesn't look like he'll be an asset.
Here's the thing, like they're like, yes, Nick and Mike, you're right. We need a goalie. Let's go get one. And then they didn't consult us prior to pulling the trigger on this goalie because we're going from a dog shit backup to a dog shit backup. It's terrible.
He's like, I think his career record is like 2-11-2, with like almost a four goals against average. So yes. I don't know.
It's no different than Mishka. It's no different. None. Like
I mean, a 6th-round draft pick is not very valuable in the NHL, but yeah, I don't know.
Their stat line is literally identical, and I'm like, so you just went and got one bag of crap for another bag of crap, and you're hoping that he does a little bit better. Hope is not a strategy in any form of life, especially from a sports standpoint, and so it's just mind-boggling to me. And that's the thing, like, from a defensive standpoint, not having Cale Makar for the last 3 weeks, 2 weeks, roughly, that hurts. Like, he's the best defensive player in hockey, and getting him back is going to be a huge boost to the team. But that, like we talked about last week, if you have a good goalie, like a solid goalie, Patrick Waugh type goalie, you make up for the gaps that you have in defense.
Yeah.
A good goalie can eliminate a lot of gaps from a defensive standpoint. A bad goalie cannot do that. Your defense has to be damn near perfect to save your goalie 75% of the time. And unfortunately for us, we just don't have that goalie right now. I mean, Grubauer's looking a little bit better. Don't get me wrong. He's had a couple shutouts in the last, 8 games.
He's a solid starter. He is not the upper echelon of goaltenders.
No,
but he's solid. So they just have to make sure they, that they don't give up. They play well in front of him because he's not going to save you. The guy, okay, so it was killing me after our podcast. Varlamov, I don't know why I couldn't think of who it was that got hot in the playoffs and drove us, that young Avalanche team 4 or 5 years ago, to the 1 or 2 seed.
Did we lose? I think we lost to Minnesota that year.
Yeah, we lost in the first round, I think.
We lost to Minnesota.
There were games where we were getting outshot like 45-18, or time on attack was like 2-1, and we would lose 1-0. He was just lights out that year. And so obviously it's nice to have, but we're going to have to figure it out without that.
They have the pieces, as long as if they can show up the defense and Grubauer is going to, and just plays consistent, we're going to be fine. And to your point, you just have to get hot come June. That's it. At the end of the day, you have to be the hottest team going into the playoffs and just ride that wave for as long as you can, similar to the Rockies in 2007. And then go from there. But probably the most exciting outside of hockey and basketball from a winning standpoint is the Broncos. Broncos are making some moves.
New GM. So first off, I want to touch on Philip Lindsay. I'm happy for him to get the $3 million. I personally think the Denver Broncos have shit on him a little bit throughout his time in Denver, but he was an undrafted rookie. He produced, and as a business standpoint, might not be the popular opinion, but they made the right call. They chose to pay Melvin Gordon.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think Melvin Gordon is an upgrade. I don't think he's that great to be making $7 million a year, but that was the choice they made. They can't pay Philip Lindsay $3 to $5 million to be on the team still. They got the guy from Minnesota who has looked really good when he, in his small amount of playing time. He had that one game to end the year. He had like 143 yards. It was his only game as a featured running back. So who knows? Maybe he'll be good for us. But Denver needs to quit crying about Lindsey, man. I want the best for him. I'm glad he's making some money, but business-wise, you can't pay him here.
The thing is that, you know, Denver being a quote-unquote football town, and obviously you can see behind me, you know, I'm a Broncos fan just like everyone else, but, you know, there's a lot of times where the Broncos fans, like the fans, they just make dumb decisions. Like
they're very passionate.
It's really weird. It's like,
do you remember
like Tim Tebow?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, do you remember people actually trying to have legitimate arguments with you that Peyton Manning was not better for the team than Tim Tebow was?
Unreal. It was unreal. Tim Tebow single-handedly shined a light on all of the really, really dumb Bronco fans.
Yeah,
like that love football, but like don't understand the X's and O's, no pun intended. And Tim Tebow made the Denver Bronco Nation look so stupid.
I love Tim Tebow. I think he's a great guy. I think he is one of the most decent human beings on this planet, and he got a short straw dealt to him with his fan base coming out of college. And then the media leeching onto him. But he was never going to be an NFL quarterback.
No.
He could have had a Taysom Hill type career if he was like with Sean Payton or somebody who was really creative. He could have been that guy who comes in for a series or two. They build an offense specifically around him, and he can add a different element. But he is not going to be a full-time starter. He was never.
And here's the thing, like, you know, for Tim. You know, I don't, you know, to your point, nice guy, like that makes the right decisions off the field 100% of the time. And, you know, just puts himself in the right position, unlike Deshaun Watson.
We won't even get on that discussion right now.
But to your point, like, you know, his pride, I think, got in his way. Like he told himself that he was going to be a QB and that's it. And he's a starter and he's not willing to mold and do something different like a Taysom Hill, who says, look, like, I'm playing in the NFL. Like, I'm going to play 12, 13, 14 snaps a game. I'm going to score 8 touchdowns over the course of the season, more than probably 90% of the running backs out there. And you're going to have a huge impact when we need you. And Tim Tebow was just unwilling, in my opinion, to make that change.
He could have been maybe the greatest red zone threat of all time in the NFL.
100%.
If he took that role and had the right offensive coordinator, they could have built the most difficult package to defend inside the 5-yard line in the history of the NFL.
Part of the problem, though, is that, you know, Peyton Manning came in right after Tim Tebow. So you're not going to have Peyton Manning in the seasons that he had in 2012, 13, 14, 15 be like, oh yeah, I'm on the 5-yard line. Let me come off the field and give it to Tim Tebow and watch this dude run it in.
Right.
Peyton Manning's going to be like, Tim, sit down.
Yeah.
And just sit there. So
Agreed.
It just wouldn't have worked for the Broncos standpoint, just because Peyton Manning would have been like, no, thank you.
Yeah. It wouldn't have worked. It would not have worked for the Broncos, but it would have worked for him somewhere. He could have been
correct,
an asset for an NFL team.
Speaking of assets,
the Broncos, man, they are loading up on the defensive side.
Yes, they are.
I like all of their signings so far. We paid Von Miller. We got Darby for a decent contract for a start.
Justin Simmons to a contract.
Justin Simmons is extended. And now we got 2018 All-Pro in Vic Fangio's defense for $9 million. Kyle Fuller just signed with us yesterday. That's big, man. We got no-fly zone part 2.
That's a really tough secondary. Bryce Callahan, with
Callahan's a great
healthy,
nickel. He's going to be he's going to play that
nickel.
Chris Harris role. He did it really well last year. If we can get our safety spot taken care of next to Simmons, they're going to be pretty lights out.
What are your thoughts on on the Jackson let go. Like I liked Kareem.
I
thought he was a pretty good run stopper.
I get it. Money as a financial standpoint.
There we go.
All right, so Kareem Jackson, I think it was a good financial decision, but I hate seeing him go because he was perfect. He was great in our defense. He was the guy that made a lot of plays for us inside the box, outside the box. We moved him all over the field. If we can get him, it was completely financial. It was, I think they saved $11 million by cutting him with no dead money. So maybe we could bring him back for 7 or 8. And both sides are happy, but you would think that they would have restructured if that was a possibility.
Right. You would have been able to get a deal done prior to having to cut him and take your chances. I mean, he was probably he was the initial main catalyst for getting Deshaun Watson to come to Denver, and then we cut the guy.
After all those, they're like, dude, you didn't tell us about all this stuff. I don't know. Full disclosure, next time you're gone.
It's crazy to me that 12 people came out of the woodworks and said
it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense to me. Like, how do you what?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I'm not going to say I don't want to make this like a political thing or anything like that, but in this day and age, it's a guilty until proven innocent. And if you are in the public eye, one article comes out and all the negative media comes out and follows. So if he did it, he needs to pay for the consequences. But it's not like there's video like when Kareem Hunt knocked his girlfriend out, or when
Ray Rice.
Yeah, so it's not like there's video evidence yet, so we need to kind of let it play out. But at this point, he's not worth 2 or 3 first-round draft picks for the Broncos to get him until it plays out, because he's could face a whole year suspension.
Do you think, obviously, like, this is rumor and this is just me being a hypothetical person?
I mean, I'm a total conspiracy guy, so yeah, I could go with that.
Like, is this something, could you see someone like Houston, leaking some of this stuff out to drive his value to where no one wants him? So
I mean, Houston is about as poorly ran as the Rockies are, so it would not surprise me. But what they're going to do is they're going to drive his value down and then trade him off for a 3rd-round pick. And it's going to bite him in the butt. that would be something that they would do.
Yep. That sounds like exactly what the Rockies would do.
So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Houston, I could see that happening. I mean, 12 cases it's hard to get. I don't know how hard it would be to get 12 people to come forward.
Those are Tiger Woods numbers.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, not good for him. He's going to have to go into a hole and hide until August. And hopefully it dies down, because it's all over everywhere.
Yeah.
Everything else on the Broncos is looking good. So now we just need Drew Lock to step up, because he's got all the pieces on offense. He's got all the pieces on defense. He is the only question mark, in my opinion.
I still think we need a one more linebacker.
I would love, now that we can use our 9th pick for the best linebacker on the board, we get somebody who can cover a running back or a tight end. That would be great.
Do you still go get the cornerback out of Virginia Tech, though? If you have that 9th pick, and then your no-fly zone is, I mean, as good as it's going to be?
Yeah, because I mean, as good as Fuller is, there are question marks, because he did have a bad season after not a bad season, but he did get injured, and then he didn't have his All-Pro season. So he is on the older side as far as DBs go. I think he's like 29. And then Callahan and Darby, they're all on their second contracts, late 20s. So it wouldn't be the end of the world to go after a corner if you thought he was going to be solidify one side of the field for the next 10 years. It wouldn't be a bad thing. It doesn't fill an immediate need anymore. So
I feel like linebackers is a bigger need, unless you have someone like a Justin Fields drop to 9.
No. They kind of put themselves in a great spot for the draft. I think you want to be able to take the best player available, and they put themselves in that position to where they're not desperate for a position that they're going to overvalue a pick. So that's good.
Making some moves,
getting excited, bleeding some orange and blue. living in the blizzard and the future snow coming up for you guys.
Yeah, it's going to start snowing this afternoon, and
Yep.
go from there.
All righty
But
then.
excited. The opening day's coming up in less than 10 days. So I mean,
we'll have one more episode to talk about opening day, and then the real season will start.
and the real season starts. So remember to like and subscribe down at the bottom.
Yep.
Sharing is caring. Making sure that you get this out there as much as possible. And until next week.
Here we go, baby. Next week.
See ya.